Hi, I'm Mash Ponigala, brand strategist at Spellbrand. Welcome back to the series on the hero's journey and the audience journey, where we look at how we can create emotional bonds with our target audience, with our potential customers, through the structure of the hero's journey. In the previous video, we were talking about the fifth step, crossing the threshold. This is where the hero has committed to the journey. There's a point of no return. In this video, we're talking about the sixth step, which is tests, allies, and enemies. Actually, this forms the biggest chunk of the story. This forms, like the biggest act. If you look at any movie, this is where all the action happens. Let's look at some movies first, and then we will see how we can align this to our audience journey and what your brand can do about it in this step. If you look at Lord of the Rings, tests, allies, and enemies is all about Frodo. Of course, you've got Sam helping him already, is an ally, but Frodo goes and meets the Fellowship of the Ring, right? So he's got Boromir and all those Legolas and all those guys. And these allies are also sort of on the same path, right? They have the same goal. This is about the common interest of destroying Sauron, destroying the evil. And meeting the Fellowship is not just about meeting them, but of course, continuing the journey with them. And there'll be a lot of tests, there'll be a lot of obstacles that Frodo has to go through with the help of the Fellowship, the different members of the Fellowship. And throughout the journey, there's these trials and tribulations, and bonds are built, bonds are strengthened with members, and so on. Now, Frodo also gets glimpses of the enemy. It could be minor enemies, but also glimpses of the ultimate enemy. And this comes through, things like the Balrog, Shalob's lair. Of course, you've already got Gollum on one end, as a constant kind of enemy. If you look at Star Wars, Test Allies is once Luke commits to the journey. So his uncle and aunt are dead, and he seeks out Chewbacca and Han Solo, of course, with the help of his mentor, Obi-Wan. And they ask them for help. They get onto the Millennium Falcon, and they're off to the planet Alderaan. This act can be, like I said, could take up a huge chunk of the process. Now, the planet Alderaan gets destroyed by the Death Star. Now, that is a glimpse of the enemy for Luke. And he sort of gets to grips with the power of the enemy, the ultimate enemy. In terms of the Matrix, when Neo crosses the threshold, so he takes the red pill, and then he wakes up from the Matrix. He wakes up in this huge incubator, and it's the reality of the world. It's shocking. He meets Neo in real life out of the Matrix, and he also meets other people on the ship. Tank, Dozer, and Trinity, of course, real life Trinity, and so on and so forth. So these are the allies, and he has glimpses of the enemy, the agents. There's some altercations that they have. There's some action sequences, so on and so forth. How does this relate to your audience, right? What is happening? So they've made a commitment to seek out the solution to their problem. Not your product, but general. So they're on that journey to get that product or service to solve their problem. How do you then sort of build that allies, build that the tests and the kind of obstacles? Your audience, while seeking out, will come up with more objections. Now that they're committed to seeking this, for example, if we go back to our copywriting example, so now they have committed themselves to saying we do need professional copywriting. So they start searching. They start searching for, copywriting. What is copywriting? They have a bit of awareness from crossing the threshold, but now they're digging deep into it. And here, you still continue your role as a mentor. You're still producing content, you're providing information, you're helping your audience understand the ins and outs of that journey, that the solution that they seek. But you also start introducing your brand, your product, your service. This is actually the first step of the sales process. This is where the actual sales process begins. Now, like I said, remember, it does not have to be linear, right? You could take these, if you're a new brand, then you can go through these steps in a linear path. But if you're already in business, you could just focus on this. You could say, well, you know what? I'm going to focus on, this step of the journey, and I will create a campaign. I'll create marketing and content. Now here, because it's the first step of the sales process, again, it's not asking for the buy, but this is introducing your product or service. So in your content, in your blog posts, in social media, you've already started introducing a little bit of testimonials and all, but here you start introducing your product or service as one of the options, right? So you can start providing some recommendations. If it's software, for example, you can start introducing the idea of trying a demo, right? Trying a trial of the software. If it's, let's say you're copywriting, then maybe looking at your particular work, links to copywriting content that you've created for other clients. Or it could be, I don't know, a chat session, or get on a video call or something like that, right? So not get on a video call to close the sale, but to provide more information. Or it could be just a series of videos introducing your client to copywriting and your copywriting, what you have done for your clients, and so on and so forth. So here, the action step really is about looking at the objections, because your client will have, your target audience will have a lot of objections now. Now that they now know more and they're looking at different brands. Oh, okay, so these are the solutions, but there's expense, and they're probably reading reviews online of people, being ripped off, or the quality of the product is bad, or it doesn't really work, it doesn't really solve, or do I really need this product? Can I solve my solution without a product? All these things. So you got to take those and you got to address them from the perspective of your brand, your product, or your service. So the sales starts happening at this stage. Again, don't go heavy on the sales, okay? Look at brands like Zendesk or Airbnb, HubSpot. They provide awesome content. They're still playing the role of the mentor, and they then start introducing their testimonials. They use testimonials as a way of selling, soft selling. And if you go to their website, you will see that testimonials start coming up, and HubSpot especially, of course, because they're masters of inbound marketing, right? So they understand the customer's journey really well, the audience journey really well, and they know how to introduce themselves. So I think a good case study is HubSpot and how they do it. It's a fantastic case study. So think about it from that perspective, soft selling, start introducing testimonials, or even content, could be videos, blog posts, whatever it is, social media campaigns. The messages you post, they should all be about hinting at your product or service without direct hard selling. The next step is approaching the inmost cave. And that will be step number 7, and we will discuss that in the next video.